Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into a fiery statement that has been making waves in South African political circles, a warning that, as one MP dramatically put it, South Africa is going to burn. Now, that's not a small thing to say in a country that has literally seen malls, warehouses, and streets go up in flames during the unrest of 2021. The phrase is not just rhetoric, it's a chilling reminder of what happens when anger, poverty, and political frustration collide. At the center of this conversation is a speech that was praised for defending the so-called pillars of transformation against coalition partners and international pressure. But alongside that praise came a blistering counter-attack, a rebuke of the ANC's moral authority, its decades of corruption, and its hollow claim to still be the guardian of the oppressed.
This has nothing to do with what political parties in office.
If you've been alive in South Africa for the last 30 years, you've seen this
moral project that for centuries South Africans of all races and all creeds fought for to define the idea of what it means to live in a fair, in a just, in a humane, and in a...
That is undeniable. But here's the question: how long can a political party live off liberation capital? How many decades can you tell people we freed you, when the same people are unemployed, struggling to put food on the table, and dodging potholes that look like swimming pools? At some point, liberation slogans start to sound like an expired warranty. The counter-speech made it clear, the ANC no longer has the moral authority to dictate the nation's path. Why? Because corruption has hollowed it out from the inside. We are not talking about one or two bad apples. We are talking about systemic rot, from municipal contracts that never deliver water to billion-rand state capture schemes that left Eskom coughing in the dark. The very idea of transformation, something that should mean fairness and justice, has been turned into a political shield. Whenever there's criticism, the ANC points back to the struggle. But as the critique rightly pointed out, invoking the memory of apartheid heroes to justify today's mismanagement is not transformation, it's deflection. And here's where things get spicy. Deputy Minister Zuko Godlimpi was called out specifically. The warning was blunt: don't speak about the ANC from a place of moral high ground when your own party is standing knee-deep in scandals. It's like watching someone lecture on clean living while puffing a cigarette in one hand and holding a brandy in the other. It just doesn't work. Now let's talk about the economic cost, because this is where ordinary South Africans feel the burn, literally. The counter-speech argued that corruption is not just a moral failure, it's the reason the country is already burning. And that's not hyperbole. Load shedding is not just about Eskom's bad engineering, it's about decades of dodgy contracts, inflated tenders, and officials lining their pockets instead of maintaining power stations. Service delivery protests. They don't come out of thin air. They're the consequence of money meant for housing, water, and sanitation disappearing into phantom projects. And when communities feel robbed, they burn tires. Sometimes, tragically, they burn people too. Let's not forget unemployment. Corruption and mismanagement keep investors away, keep businesses shaky, and make young people feel like their future is already stolen. We are sitting with a youth unemployment rate that looks like a horror film statistic, over 40%. That means almost half of South Africans under 35 cannot find work. And then you have leaders saying, be patient, transformation is a process. How do you tell a hungry stomach to be patient? Here's where the humor comes in, because South Africans cope with crisis by laughing. The ANC keeps saying it's cleansing itself. They talk about integrity commissions, disciplinary processes, and lifestyle audits. But watching the ANC cleanse itself is like watching a cat try to wash a car. The intention might be there, but the job is never getting done. And let's be fair, coalition partners are not angels either. The EFF, DA, IFP, and others each come with their baggage. But the ANC is still the big player, the one holding the keys to national governance. If your house is in chaos, you cannot dictate how the whole street should live. And yet, that's what the ruling party continues to do. The most biting line in this entire rebuttal was this: the ANC wants to protect the ANC. Nothing more. That stings, but it rings true. Every time there's a crisis, the party's first instinct is survival. Think about how many times scandals have been brushed aside because accountability would weaken the organization.
And redress is only just a pathway to that outcome. Any other proposition is to consign South Africa to a possibility that it averted when 1994 came. So transformation is not a swear word. It is not a partisan perspective. It is a moral perspective that defines the very idea of what South Africanhood is about. If someone asks you, what does it mean to be South African? What is the essence of being South African? Tell them a simple thing. To be South African is to represent the moral proposition that it is possible to construct a new social order on the basis of the mutual recognition that social division, that prejudice, that structural discrimination can be overcome by designing an institutional order that imposes on all of us the imperative to transform society for the better so that it can truly belong.
The statement, South Africa is going to burn, is less of a prediction and more of a diagnosis. The country is already smoldering. The only question is whether leaders will finally confront the flames, or keep playing the liberation soundtrack while everything around them turns to ash. If you found this breakdown useful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Do you think the ANC can reform itself, or is it time for South Africa to move past the liberation narrative entirely? Let's get the conversation going. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, see you next time.